I think we have a new shady move from Prosecutor Adriane Love that I never noticed before. Do you guys remember? I'm sure you guys remember when Adriane Love got rebuked after she read Antonio Sledge's, aka Mounk Tounk's Alford plea into the record in front of the jury.
Told you about, you can take those facts and those admissions and consider it against him or anybody else in this trial. When it's an Alford plea, you cannot. So none of that I said was actually true about what you just heard about those 2017 guilty plea to the 2015 drive-by shooting. Okay. So let me think what else. Oh, and you also need to completely disregard that anybody other than this witness right here, Mr. Sledge, might have pled to anything that had to do with that drive-by shooting. All right. So just entirely erase that from your minds. And I also, at this point, am going to admonish and rebuke you, Miss Love, to pay careful attention to how you ask questions and what you put before the jury. You should not have put that factual rendition before the jury as anything that this witness admitted to at the time of the 2027 guilty plea. And I'm going to instruct you to refrain from asking improper questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
I think most, if not all of us, remember this moment where Love gets rebuked for this Alford plea that she read into the record. But we've been doing rewinds with the YSL trial and watching some of Love's quote unquote best moments. And there are some new things that we're realizing for the first time, seeing it in retrospect. Earlier today, we rewatched day 135, which was September 23rd, 2024. That's after Love was already admonished and rebuked for reading this Alford plea in front of the jury. And we get into this line of questioning with Quindarius Zachary on the stand that Steele's going to later object to. So let's get the context.
Do you remember telling the police that Traydon or Tay was the one that knew where the people who lived at Adele stayed at?
No.
Huh?
No.
All right. Now, had Tay had beef with the people on Adele before, specifically Philo and D?
I don't know.
All right. You said earlier that you knew Philo. Is Philo Philip Collins?
I knew of that name for being in my skirt package. I never knew him.
You didn't know him on April 28th?
No.
You didn't know him on August 5th?
No.
All right. By August 5th, I mean August 5th, 2015.
No.
All right. Did you tell the police that Philo was Philip Collins?
Hell no, I ain't saying. I don't know his name. I didn't see that name until I got locked up and it was in my skirt package.
Did you know a D or Darren Mills who was Philip Collins' little brother?
Never saw that name until I saw it in my skirt package.
Did you tell the police that D was Philo's little brother?
No, I don't know them people. I just told you that.
Okay. So Steele ends up raising an issue with this.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can you ask the state to direct me to where, when that they had a good faith belief to ask the question to Mr. Zachary that he told the police the name Philip Collins? I don't have that in my notes, and if it's in the transcript, I just missed it, or in the recording.
Judge, I said Philo, and I asked him because everybody knows it's in all the information we've provided to the defense. And I think without looking back on prior testimony, that at least one witness may have discussed the fact that Philip Collins was Philo, but I will confirm that. But Mr. Steele is very well aware that Philo is Philip Collins. That's in everything that we've given.
That's not what he's saying. Did you?
The good faith basis.
Did you? Yeah, that Zachary told the police that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I can show it to him. I sure can.
Okay.
It is on page. Let me see. And I know that he may have probably just overlooked it. So it is on page.
You have 3 attorneys standing up.
As I'm looking for the transcript portion, I can tell you that in the interview where right before they start talking about going over to Harry Holmes, they were asked, the police asked Mr. Zachary, here it is, who drives the gray Charger? Backing up to somebody got shot that night. Mr. Zachary was asked by Gaither, do you remember what time they shot at him? She asked whether it was right after Demekion got jumped. And Gaither asked, how do you know it was these people? We're talking about the guys from If Gang, right? Mr. Zachary says, yeah, because she's seen what car they were in. Gaither asked, which car were they in? Mr. Zachary says, a gray Charger. Gaither asked, and these are some of the questions that they said, 403, irrelevant, and all that were sustained. Gaither asked, who drives a gray Charger? And Mr. Zachary.
I should probably cut in here and give the context that the reason we were doing the rewind today was we looked at this entire day. It was the 403 objection day where Doug Weinstein was just rapid fire, objection 403, objection 403, objection 403. So seems like she's got a open wound about that.
Zachary said that boy Philo, and his name D, he drove Philo's little brother. He drove D is Philo's little brother. He drove that car. And then Gaither says Philo and D. And Gaither says, so Philo and D, they shoot at them. And Zachary says, yes. And that's when she asked him, was
Okay,
anybody?
so is there a last name Collins in there anywhere? I think that's what he's asking.
So, Your Honor, what I said is something about Philo or Philip Collins. Philip Collins is Philo.
Okay, but that's not in the conversation he had with the police. That's just you asking him, is it Philip Collins?
Yes, that's exactly right. And Your Honor, he asked what good faith basis I had for asking. And I'll tell you that when he said Philo and his little brother D, and we've heard testimony from one witness, I won't call it, she's a lay witness, who said that her sister's children were Darren and Philo or Philip Collins, and that Darren is younger than Philip Collins. They objected when I asked about the age. The court sustained that. But we will also hear testimony. I believe we've heard
Okay,
some.
so the question was, I think, or the objection or the request for clarification was where you have a good faith basis for asking if, or suggesting that he told the police Philip Collins.
That's not what he said. He said, did the state have a good faith basis for asking if he knew Philip Collins?
Okay, so they have a good faith basis for asking if he knew, and apparently it's not in the transcript that he ever used the last name.
Well, I'll find the exact quote over lunch, but this is why I'm objecting to the prosecutor suggesting things.
Well, she can ask, was it Philip Collins? And he can say, I don't know, because I don't know Philo anyway.
I'll get
Or
the
whatever
exact
he's
quote
going to say.
because I don't believe that's how it was framed, but I'll get the exact quote.
Okay, well, I don't think it's particularly material whether he used a last name or not in talking to the police, because he's essentially saying at this point, I don't remember anything. I don't know anything. I don't know those people.
Your Honor, I find it material that a lawyer would say, looking at a transcript, and say to a
Okay,
witness.
all right, just go back and look then at what it was that she said, and there's no point us talking about it if we don't know exactly what it is. Okay, anything else before lunch?
On behalf of Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Just because we're talking about what the lawyer did and not the evidence is. I want to say that I didn't just look at a transcript. I listened to the interview a lot.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll see everybody back at 1:30.
And yet she still wasn't certain or aware of whether or not the last name Collins was volunteered or asked about during that interview that she's insisting she's so well aware of. But that's not where this ends. So fast forward back from lunch, Love argues a separate matter that she said she would pull case law for. And then she goes back into this issue relating to this Philip Collins. And if anybody actually volunteered or asked about that last name to address the issue that Steele was getting at. Pay attention to her mention of Mounk Tounk, Antonio Sledge.
Of course, the information that we're eliciting from this witness is something that no one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle is going to want the jury to hear from this witness. I don't believe that it is sincerely perceived as a waste of time when the jury has seen this witness and his demeanor, and they are going to have to weigh what this witness is saying today versus what they said at the time that they gave the police statement versus what he claims are his explanations for the differences. The court's going to give the jury the instructions at the end. There are nuances in this case. For instance, as I was listening back to Antonio Sledge's testimony,
I was listening back to Antonio Sledge's testimony. In other words, Antonio Sledge implying that it's coming from Antonio Sledge fresh on the stand when he took the stand prior to Quindarius Zachary testifying.
Colleague across the aisle said that we had no good faith basis with respect to asking the witness whether he knew Philip Collins.
So let's see how she works Antonio Sledge, Mounk Tounk in to justify her good faith basis of this insertion of the Collins last name.
In Mr. Sledge's, I think, factual acknowledgments, it
Factual acknowledgments.
flat out says that Philip
He flat out says.
Collins, I think, is Darren Mills's older brother. I think we say something like that. I went back and looked at some of the transcripts from the previous.
So she's acknowledging that she went back and looked, as if on the lunch break very recently, she just went back and looked at something. Some transcripts, fresh of mind, top of mind. Let's hear this all together.
There are nuances in this case. For instance, as I was listening back to Antonio Sledge's testimony, when my colleague across the aisle said that we had no good faith basis with respect to asking the witness whether he knew Philip Collins. In Mr. Sledge's, I think, factual acknowledgments, it flat out says that Philip Collins, I think, is Darren Mills's older brother. I think we say something like that. I went back and looked at some of the transcripts from the previous days in court, and I will get that to the court and to counsel as well. But there are nuances.
So before we hear the rest of this argument play out, now that she's zoomed in on fixing this issue where Steele asks about the Philip Collins mention with the last name included, and she funnels down into, well, we had a good faith basis for saying that in the question, through our own question, with Quindarius Zachary on the stand, even though it's not in the transcript, and Quindarius Zachary didn't testify to that information, we have a good faith basis to claim that Philo is in fact Philip Collins because of Antonio Sledge's factual acknowledgments. And I just went back and looked at all those transcripts that were real recent. Guess which transcript she went back? And I'll tell you, it wasn't Antonio Sledge's words, because the name Philip Collins is not in the factual acknowledgments of 1AS, the exhibit that's supposed to be his standing plea. Guess who said it in the transcripts? Let's go back to day 122. Going back in time from the argument we were just watching to day 122, which she just said she reviewed the transcripts for. She re-listened to this. And according to Sledge's testimony and his factual acknowledgments, here she is herself reading the factual basis from the Alford plea. This is the only mention I see when I search for the word Collins.
The evidence is that Mr. Sledge was the driver of the car. After that, Mr. Sledge drove over to 1903 Drew Drive, Northwest, an apartment there was at the time being used by Philip Collins, who is Darren Mills's brother, and also present at the club and participated in the assault. In shooting at what they believed to be Philip Collins' apartment, they damaged apartments 1122 and 1120. Natasha Battle's apartment, which was 1120, her patio doors, windows, and couch were damaged from the gunfire. Ms. Troutman's apartment was 1122, and that was the other apartment that was damaged. Through investigations, detectives got a lead that Mr. Garlington and Mr. Zachary were involved, and they conducted interviews.
Yes, sir.
I can pause there.
Okay.
And again, we know she ultimately ends up getting rebuked and admonished for reading this Alford plea material into the record. But here, it's what she's going back to. She said she just looked back at. She's not representing to Judge Whitaker here. I went back and looked at that time that I read an Alford plea, and I got admonished and rebuked for it. But I'm going to use that to justify myself right now when Brian Steele raised an issue with me possibly asking a question in bad faith of this current witness that's on the stand. She's not giving any of that context to Whitaker, even though she said she just reviewed it. So watching this today, something about this was not right. When you look at the big picture, I truly think this is even more of a dirty move by Adriane Love that we knew the bits and pieces of, but now this is like an extra like whipped cream and cherry on top of the Adriane Love dessert. So for good measure, we'll watch the rest of this play out, but let me know what you are thinking. And don't forget that Tiffany Adams, the Fit Lawyer, ATL, and Happily Angry Lawyer, Jim Robichaud, they are still fighting for Mounk Tounk. All of their links will be in the description. Jim also has a fundraiser for documents, mostly involving Fulton County cases. Here's one actually with Darren Mills. And documents are very expensive. Don't give what you don't have. But if you'd like to support the effort to do this wrongful conviction research, this is a great way to do so. And you might have heard me harp on this before if you've hung out with me the last few days, but one of the cases that we're looking at here, by we, I mean Jim, the three of them were convicted for murder. In their case, the prosecutor claimed in her opening statement, hint, hint, this is Adriane Love, that the particular gun, arguably tied to two of the defendants, was the literal smoking gun. It absolutely was not. Everybody agreed it was the wrong caliber. The worst thing, the state destroyed the gun before trial, so the defense could not independently verify the ballistics testing. So this is one of the cases he's trying to get more documents for, to keep looking and then see what went on. But familiar player here, Prosecutor Love, saying, quote, literal smoking gun about a gun that is not the literal smoking gun. So back to the arguments. Let me know what you think about this new detail about Love still referencing this Alford plea, her own reading of the Alford plea, to bolster and rehabilitate herself after Brian Steele raises a question of, did you do something in bad faith here? It's like the saga never ends. So all of those links will be in the description. And let's watch this play out. Hope everybody's been doing well, by the way. Hit the like button.
That go into the state proving that we need to show to meet our burden of persuasion, and that provides evidentiary depth to tell a continuous story. So when we are talking to this witness and asking certain questions, and I'll go back to asking one of the witnesses the age differences between two of her nephews, and there was a relevance objection as to the age of Darren Mills and the age of Philip Collins. And the witness testified that which one was older and which one's the oldest brother. So throughout this trial, the state is presenting evidence in the form of building blocks. There will be no, in a case this massive, one bullet that takes out everything. And by limiting the state and proving its case in the way that the state sees fit, the defense essentially seeks to sanitize our case and to prevent us from presenting and using the evidentiary depth at our disposal through our evidence to tell a continuous story through each witness, which the defense has every right to come in and attempt to tear down, but which the state nor the people that the state is speaking on behalf of should be disadvantaged as a result of not being able to present. All right. I appreciate the court allowing me to share that with the court. And we also found the point where my colleague across the aisle said that if we call...
What exactly was said?
If you want to play it out loud, you're going to pull it up? Pull it up for me. If we call Detective Gaither to the stand to play this, I will object. That's part of it. That's all that's written here. But I'm going to listen to all of it, where he says, if we are having him come here and say, I don't recall to everything, which we didn't expect him to do, Mr. Zachary, that is, that he would object to us.
Okay, that doesn't mean it would be sustained. I thought you were talking about the part that that Mr. Steele had raised about the Philip's last name. Did anybody find that and see exactly what that question was?
Oh, yeah. So I didn't find the exact objection. So we're looking for the exact objection.
Okay, not the objection. Mr. Steele, what was your objection to?
That we did not have
My objection. Okay, my objection is the question was put to Mr. Zachary by the prosecutor. Did Mr. Zachary tell the police that this person's name is Philip Collins.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Your Honor, what I remember him saying was we didn't have a good faith basis. For asking if he told the police that his name was Philip Collins. What I
Right.
said was, did you tell the police that his name was Philo or Philip Collins? I used Philo first, and then I said, or Philip Collins. And when he says that I don't have a good faith basis,
I know you have a good faith basis for thinking Philip's last name is Collins. Do you have a good faith basis for suggesting that he ever told the police that Philo was Philip Collins? Just, did he ever mention the last name to the police?
Your Honor, in listening back to it, something so specific as did he mention the last name? I had a good faith basis because when the police are talking about Philip Collins and they name names and he's agreeing.
Did they say Philip Collins?
The name Philip Collins, I believe, was raised in the transcript, not the transcript, but the recording in the interview. I'll go back and find that as
if
well.
it was, fine.
But throughout, I did have a good faith basis, just like when I asked someone if they know Antonio Sledge when they call them Mounk Tounk.
Okay.
I just have, I apologize. It's like children. That's how I feel. I'm like a child, but that didn't happen. It's not in the transcript. It's not in the recording.
Okay, so I'm just going to say that it is really not the be all end all of this case, whether the last name Collins is in the transcript. So let's move on from that. And Ms. Love, I appreciate the case law. And you are right that I am not excluding, evidence in its entirety. What I am trying to accomplish is for you to ask the questions about the things that are material, not every line or every other line, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not all of the minutia of what is in this statement, like how far away they parked when whomever did the shooting. I mean, does that really matter?
There's a reason that I asked that question. When there's a witness who talked about them parking at the stop sign. He may not have seen the other car, but this witness has testified that it was only him and one person who followed a car and shot at people. Yep. So the fact that there is a witness who testifies that there was a car that stopped up the street at the stop sign, and we have this witness telling police in August 2015 that they stopped kind of far back, and that the other car stopped in front of the house and shot. We believe that those details matter, and they provide what the court called, I think, evidentiary depth, and that the jury can look at what other witnesses unconnected with this witness say and decide which version of the statements that this witness is given is true and why.
So then you can just say, did you park really far away? And then he can say no. And then you can impeach with the statement. It's all that needs to happen.
Judge, I understand, but respectfully, we can't tell the defense how to ask questions, Your Honor, and I appreciate the court's suggestions regarding how more succinctly to ask the questions, but I don't ask the questions that I ask for no reason. I certainly don't ask them for the purposes of delay.
I know it's not for the purpose of delay. I think it must be because you think every tiny little detail is crucial to your case, and that's why you're asking every tiny little detail.
I don't think every tiny little detail for sure, but I do think that details matter. And
I know that you think the details matter.
And
all right, well, it's been 20 minutes that we've been on this one topic. Maybe we'll just cut our lunches down to 35 minutes from now on, since we have to hold the jury so far past when we're supposed to be picking back up. So please take it into consideration, but I mean, I don't know if you're going to do that or not. I don't know if I'm like even getting the concept through to you.
Your Honor, of course.
Okay, good. Let's get the witness back in and then the jury back in.
He wants to say something so badly. So there we go. The Alford plea issue seems to be revived on day 135, and she's using it. She's misrepresenting it again without contextualizing to the court that she's once again referencing an Alford plea. And she's doing it to push back against an assertion by Brian Steele that she may have done something in bad faith. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Hope you're doing well. Check out the links in the description to go see what the Fit Lawyer and Jim R. Happily Angry Lawyer are up to. Again, I said about a week ago that I'm not quite sure YSL trial is actually really over, depending on how certain things play out with Mounk Tounk's case. So thank you guys all for still paying attention to this case. Take care.
At the time, I think I was trying to free Mounk Tounk, so I'm just saying, whatever, probably.
Please look at the jury and tell them what you mean by that.
What I mean by what?
At the time, I think I was just trying to free Mounk Tounk, so I was telling him whatever.
Yeah, I knew I was going to jail.
Okay.
So I just tried to make it easy on Mounk Tounk.
Okay.
See, I told you I was trying to free Mounk Tounk.